The next speaker is a friend of us, and I think we have a video clip, and we can start immediately. Paolo Iabichino is with us. Hello, how are you? Well, we always say we are fine, we are okay, but we are not 100% honest in a way. We have to say we are okay, and of course there are lots of people who are not well at all, but it is not, being 100% okay. But we can even be, in the future, we can even be better than before. Let's have a look at the brands and communication and what brands are doing, because of course we have to promote important values. We have been talking about that many times, and we are seeing this right now. Yes, I've been saying this for more than 10 years. It is something we have already seen, because year after year we became much more aware that we were reaching the limit. And then there were some tensions and from outside in, from the United States, for example. And I remember we talked about this during the festival last year. So from the United States, we got these tensions, but actually in the 60s or in the 70s, I mean, we already started with us with this, but actually in the United States there was overconsumption and overbranding. So I don't really know why, but we tend to forget our fair and healthy and sound roots when it comes to branding and trade. But what is happening now is that a lot of brands, and I would even say all brands, if you look at fashion industry, all the big players are now producing masks and gowns, and also the car makers are now producing respirators or ventilators. Also when it comes to the food and beverage industry, they are supporting, helping, increasing wages. It looks like everybody is good and beautiful, but in the end, nobody is, because we cannot make big differences, because it's like when we were young and we studied advertisements during the war, and that was propaganda, and the brands did that. I think that this time is quite similar. We cannot make big differences, but I think that as soon as the situation is over, the pandemic is over, the brands which remained faithful to their DNA and which were able to do real storytelling. Well, they will continue and do so even in the aftermath of the pandemic. I think that also the way we communicate is changing. Brands have to communicate their values because, of course, there is a relationship with customers and users, but in addition to that, there is also the relationship with the community, with the society. But can you give us any positive or examples that you liked the most? Personally, I'd rather not to say any names, first of all, because I don't want to mention customers, my own customers or customers of others, but there are some really good stories, and especially abroad. Yesterday morning, I read a script by Volvo, and that was really paying tribute to truck drivers, and it was a very nice message, a thank you message to them, to truck drivers or commercial vehicles. And also Track 5, they wrote something really nice for Facebook, very important one. Together with Ipsos Italy, I know they collaborate with you during the festival, and we together we created the Civic Brands Permanent Observatory. And this is something we started to think about in January or February. And we carried out surveys about what you are saying. So not really the communication for the sake of communication, so just communicating values, but rather a different type of communication, which means to what extent brands have an impact on community, not only with communication, but due to the fact that they are on the market. It is a survey project I do like a lot, and then at a certain point we decided to publish it because this is very hot topics today. And we did that because we wanted to raise awareness about the real impact of advertising on society and community. And so this is why the observatory is so important. We would like to share it, of course, in the future. Very last question before you leave. Talking about communication, and this is something that we deal with not-for-profit making organizations. I think that NGOs mostly focused their communication on fundraising, but actually they should focus more on the projects, on what they do. And I hope that this time we are going through, this moment, will help also NGOs do that, as companies are doing. So what do you think about communication from not-for-profit making organizations? What do you think about this? Well, personally, My answer is no, because such an emergency has created a lot of difficulties because most donations are done for research. So donations are for the civil protection or hospitals, and in particular, the very small, not for-profit making organizations are experiencing difficulties. I'm in contact with a lot of small ones. I'm not talking about Action Aid or the big ones, but there are a lot of very small organizations, NGOs, and unfortunately, they will be impacted in terms of decline in donations. I hope I'm wrong, but I unfortunately think this will be the situation in the future. And so, because of that, NGOs have to go back to fundraising in terms of communication because they need funds, they need donations, and that will be, unfortunately, their priority during phase 2 or 3. Of course, in our ideal world, I'd rather them talk about verticality or projects. Well, personally, I was looking at the long run, so that would be the horizon, the future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paolo, for contributing to our event, and see you soon. Thank you.